Hey folks, hope everyone's well. So today this is my first ever live stream. I have no doubt it'll be absolutely horrendous. I'll make lots of errors and there's a distinct possibility I might swear and get things quite easily wrong. But bear with me and we'll see how we get on. So the other day on my Twitter, what I did was I ran a small poll to get 3 brands from all my followers suggesting who I'd like to see essentially on a livery. So a few people suggested the likes of Monster, Shell, FedEx, and the name goes on. Off the back of that, 4 brands made it to a final poll, which I'll share with you now. They were Hard Rock, FedEx, Shell, and Delta Airlines. These are the brands that now essentially will create a livery for them. And I'll show the process of how I go about creating a livery using both Photoshop and my rendering tool of choice, which is Keyshot 3D. So I'll try and demo what I do, and we'll see where the actual design ends up taking us. It'll be quite a fluid process. If you've got any questions or you want to understand my processes, what I actually do, feel free to comment in the chats and we'll see where we can go from there. So first part of call, what I've got here is my car, which is a great model provided by Uncredible. Now I'll quickly show you who these guys are. So Uncredible are a model house essentially. They create a variety of different models and use some great modelers, including the guy Chris Paul Design, who's fabulous at modeling. And I like to, well, I'm not a modeler per se, so it's something that I'm learning. And for now, what I do is I just tend to get a model and I'll render it, throw some UV maps on it, and see what I can get out at the end of the day. But yeah, Keyshot's my tool of choice. This is a great model from Uncredible, and we'll try and throw some shapes at it, throw these brands that have won, and try and come up with a really cool livery design. I'm not saying it's going to be brilliant, but hopefully some of you will like it and get some decent knowledge as well off the back of it. So, right, let's go into our Photoshop map. So when you've got a 3D model, essentially the model is built up of faces, and these essentially create a wireframe. So the wireframe is then something you can then take and apply a design to, which will then mesh and mold itself around the model depending on what you've got. It could be a car, it could be a watch, it could be a house, it could be anything, and you can apply the textures to the model. So previously my process used to be when I was first starting out doing liveries, was I'd get a car, be it a photo, or someone's already previously done a render of a car. I would then take it into Photoshop and essentially just Photoshop onto the side of the actual pre-rendered car. Whereas now, what I do is I'll take a UV map and I'll apply the UV map to the car. We'll apply shading, we'll apply lighting, we'll apply textures, roughness, reflections, shadows, to come up with something that's far more realistic and something that I tend to I present and send across to various clients up and down multiple grids around the world. So that's why I've now moved more to 3D, because it's just far more high quality. It's okay. Right. So what we've got is, as we've mentioned, we've got the 4 brands that have won, or got into the final. Shell has, as it's turned out, is now going to become the primary sponsor. So what we'll do is first of all we'll go along, select a couple of different logos. So we'll copy this one, then go back to our Photoshop. We'll drop that in there because we know that's something we want to use. Yes, I'm on PC, so a lot of PNGs will end up with a black artifact around it. I don't know why, but it's just how it works. So we'll get rid of that to start with. We'll now go get our Hard Rock logo. Do we want full colour? possibly not. I'll go with this one. I think it's a bit kinder to look at, and particularly when it comes to being on a car. I think it'll probably look a bit neater. So we'll drop that in as well. So we've got 2 logos. We'll now go and get the third, which is FedEx. I'll apologise in advance if I start waffling to myself. Like I say, it's quite an alien process to me, so I probably will talk randomly to myself as I'm going along. But if you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer them as I go along. So the final one is Delta. Okay, so let's have a look. Yep, we'll borrow you. Yep, pop you in. Big that one. See, in most cases, I wouldn't just use basic PNGs or JPEGs. I would normally opt for using something like an SVG or an Illustrator file, EPS, this, that, and the other. Something that's vector based, because we've got a lot more flexibility. It's a bit sharper. They don't sort of rasterize and sort of go a bit pixelated as you scale them. So obviously when you actually apply them to the car, they do tend to look a hell of a lot better. But obviously for a quick demonstration, I'm just going to go with what we've got here. So as you can see, we've now got a selection of different logos on the actual car. Yeah, they're not where they need to be, but at least we've got something I can demonstrate to you that when they're applied via this UV map, they get pulled into the different areas of the car that you can actually see within the actual map that we've got here. So if I press save, we now head over to our model. So we can give the model a spin if we need to. We can move it around, but all I need to do at this moment in time is just change the texture. Now, depending upon how you've got it set up, you may have different, or should I say multiple different types of textures. Now, I've already got a bare carbon fiber texture applied to the car, which hopefully this will show it. There you go. So this gives me a really good base. I think it's clean and easy to use, and what I do is I apply a label as a UV mapped label over top, which can then pull a lot of the what's the word, textures and things like that through from the carbon fiber weave that then get applied to the actual labels themselves as well. And I think it just gives it an overall better effect. So what we'll do was re-enable the there we go, because I've already saved the file. It's now pulled it through, it's refreshed, and you can see that certain elements, for example the Shell logo, the FedEx logo, they're all just kind of here, there and everywhere, just based on what we have within the Photoshop file. So at this point, it's now down to myself or any other livery designer to start maneuvering the logos into a more manageable size, location, placement that just works better for the actual overall design that we're coming up for, creating. Now, obviously Shell's quite a well-known brand. We know the colours are white, red and yellow, so that is going to be they're going to, because they're the primary brand for this particular stream, I'm going to use them as the base colour part. So what we'll do is we'll take each of them colours and we'll start applying them to different parts of the car to get more of a consistent feel and make it really pop out that Shell is the primary sponsor. The other brands really are only just more for supporting assets at this stage. So we'll take FedEx. We might want to say, okay, they're not a primary sponsor, but we'll stick them. Oh, let's have a quick look. I'll just mention something as well. So I have quite a well, I'd like to think, relatively well structured folder set up here. So what I do is I have the logos in the logos folder. I have front wing components in the front wing components folder, so you can see other things like they start changing colours. What else we got here? Right. So you can see we start applying different shapes and designs to things. But I tend to try and keep things isolated, so it's easy for me to go along and say, okay, I want to change the colour of the wing mirrors to the yellow, so I'll just use the eye tool in Photoshop. We use the buckets, and you can see it's now just dropped some colours into that particular panel, and you can quickly start to develop a look and feel and theme for something on a car just by changing a few colours here and there. Okay, so right, okay, we'll take Delta. It's still called, is it called Delta? It's not got a layer name. So layer 259 should really be named. That's where we can easily select it. Delta. So as you can see, if you right click on something, I don't know if you can see the actual pop-up within the actual video, but either way, it does actually then show the name of the actual layer that you selected, which is great. So we'll take Delta, we'll then shrink it down. We're going to make it a, do I want it to be a bit of a bigger one? I'll take it over here. We'll put it down on the wing as well as on the side pod. So we'll put it over here. Now, because I've pretty much got no followers, I'm going to assume nobody is on a live stream. But hopefully that will change in time as more and more people start to maybe want to watch what I do. This is essentially a side business for me. I do deliveries on the side, mainly just because I enjoy doing them. So as you can see now, we're starting to place a few of these logos into locations that will essentially start to, you'll see when I resave in a minute how these have now started to drop into a more understandable location. So let's go back to the shell logo because we need an additional shell logo with some wording. I think that would probably work. Go back to images. Resolution. Always best to get higher resolution if you can. See, I'm not sure if Shell actually uses the word shell at any point anymore. Let's go to the main website. Let's see what we can find. Ooh. Shell in the UK. Yeah, it's not looking like it's actually used anywhere. Let's get cookie things. There's nothing at the bottom. So probably just going to have to run with just the shell. Although we could go with actually shell V-Power logo, which is one of their main sort of products. That'll probably make for a nice looking car if we pop that on. So let's find one that we feel works well and is a good size. Okay, I'll borrow that. So let's go back to our Photoshop. Now, yes, this has got a big old red bit to it, but we won't need to worry about that too much in a minute. So I'm probably going to try and incorporate that red anyway, so let's get rid of that there. So Shell V-Power is the primary sponsor. Okay, another one of these. Control C. Sometimes if you select the layer, if you press Alt, you can easily move things around. So if you right click on the layer, that'll move it and select the layer. Right click on the shell again. Control T will make it a little bit bigger. Commit that in. Okay. We're going to want to do something more with Control V again. Put shell on the rear wing. Now, obviously, I know where these little assets elements get brought in, but just for now, we'll show you where it's going to. So if I press Control Save now, and we go back to the model itself, what we can see when we do a refresh of the actual layer is things are starting to drop into the right locations. Yeah, it doesn't look like a particularly great car at this moment in time, but at least it's showing signs moving in the right direction. Basically, what we want to do to try and get the sponsors over the line in terms of who's the best, who's the most prominent, who wants to be, who's paying the most. So that's the start. Okay, right. Back to Photoshop. So we've got a basic car now. We've got some things on the car that we want in terms of places. But obviously, the overall design looks a bit dull to be in a plain all white car. And although there have been some great white cars over the years, Braun being one of them, but I think there's certain we need to bring some other design elements instead. Now, in my layers, I do tend to have a few little elements that I can already pre-use just because I've had them elsewhere. So if we was to take this one right here, for example, we'll drop that in. Okay, we've now got essentially a red nose. We'll use the eye to do that. Let's get the same colour as the actual. Yep, it is. Okay. Delete a bit. So cross another one. Okay, so we're now going to think about it. So we've got this red stripe essentially going around all the way around the car. I think that probably work quite well for a shell design. But obviously, at the moment, if you were to look at this 1.3 model, it does kind of cut itself off a little bit when we get to sort of the end of the nose gun. Let's have a little camera, some different camera angles here. So I set up cameras within my tool so I can have certain visuals. It just makes it easy for me to see what I'm looking at. So you can see we've got some weird warping going on with the logo, but we'll resolve that. But I'm thinking maybe the red continues and flows around the car. I think that'd probably work quite well. So if we were to take the red again, we'll use the path tool this time. Thinking about where this red goes, it probably joins at the main part on the top of the side part. So I know this part of the car is just there. So if I was to take it around, start dropping some more of the red in. Being careful not to overlap the other elements, although I do already have other layers in place for that. Now if I take that and drop that into the main chassis effect, let's see how that looks. Oh, and I'll tell you what, we'll probably do the rear wing as well. Should use path, but I'll use just lasso for now. Let's put it just below those. It's not quite right. Do it with there. Update that logo to the logo. Creep into a few other layers there. So we can see the shell logo is looking a bit skewed. So we'll take the V-power bit out. Move that a little bit down. So selected it. Control V, probably in the wrong area, but we'll take a look. So we'll save that now and see what we're coming up with now. I just realised, see, learning this new stream in my life game, I just realised I've not changed, not transitioned to a different scene. So you probably see what I've done, as you can see, I've just started to move and added some new layers over the top of there. And if we go back to the car itself now, double click on the actual texture, the labels, refresh. You can see now I'm starting to drop something in. It's not how I want it to look, essentially. But you can see on my camera, you see we're joined on the top of the side pole, moving and adding a different element to the car. And you can see it's starting to assemble some form of livery. Okay, so let's go to the front wing. Change the scene so you can remember it this time. Okay, so front wing. We're going to do front wing in red as well. So we'll go. I promise it won't be like a Ferrari by the time we're finished. Add some elements there, and then we're gonna. I think we'll probably put a yellow edge. At the moment, we've got edges white. We'll just do a layer underneath. Probably somewhere else. I get the yellow from this robot. D. Control save. Back to the scene. So a little nose and see what we get. There we go. Refresh. Yeah, we've got something starting to kick in. A bit of yellow colour helps. Okay. And then we need to, obviously we've got a few of these wings on the front wing that are popping out underneath just because of the way the texture works. It wraps around both the bottom and the top, so we need to try and get the bottom ones just to make sure that they are matching what we want them to do. So if we go back to the scene, I believe the bottom edge ones are this little one down here. Sorry, wrong bullet. So the front wing, so mains, front wings. I'm not sure if that's all of them. I'll just check in a second. Go back. Refresh. Probably one more stuff. Yeah, always one more. We've actually got another one, but that actually works quite well anyway, so I'll leave that as it is. So that one there, I believe, is this one here. It's freehanding with the lasso tools, it's not so fast. Let's drop that in there, Control S. Oh, I realize I've not changed the transition again. Yeah, winning. Okay, but you can see essentially the bottom bit there has gone, and it was this one here, which we've just added in. Let's grab it so you can see that one there. We've added into there. So now we've got some form of car starting to work its way out of the blue and create some form of livery. Now let's think about this. So they've got the front wing over on the wheel covers. Let's just edit them and give them a bit more. I think should we do yellow ones? Maybe, I don't know. Should we do some yellow ones? That's why not. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know if this is going to work or look very good. I'll give it a whirl and see. No, that looks a bit rubbish. So let's go with the edges in the yellow. what we're doing is pressing Control on the layer so you can see and highlight and see it a bit easier. And the I and the G, we're going with that particular colour again. I've done it again, not transitioned there so you can see. So these are the ones. We'll then change it back to there. We go. Control Z. Okay, yeah, that works better. So, next port of call, let's add some. So first of all, let's add a driver number. We'll give them number 7. I think. Control T, make it a little bit bigger, not too much. Does red work? Probably. But I think I'll still probably up for a black number. Let's see what it looks like now. Also, we've got additional sponsors on the car, so I'm not sharing again. I need people in the live chat to shout at me. So what we'll do is we'll take FedEx and we'll move it up onto the nose as well. Once you start padding the car out, it starts to give it a bit more validity. Let's turn this to the side. Don't press shift when you're scaling anymore, because unless you've got a setting turned off potentially. Let's go back and get the original Delta logo, which is like vertical. On there, copy. Go back into the car. www, get rid of it on the back. Control T, shrink it down. And we'll probably pop that somewhere up on the top of the nose there. Press Control Save. Go back into the scene with the actual key shots. We need to do some manoeuvring. We've got some things in the way, like the aerials. You can see it starts to give it a bit more dimension. Back into the Photoshop. Find the logo. There. How far do we need to go back up the car? Let's get past that little aerial right away. Oh, that's me. That's me. There we go. So I need to move that back as well. And get, I think, if it were a real car, we'd be going a lot more equidistant between the logos, making sure it's really pinched and neat. I mean, super neat. The sort of level you have to go to when you're doing a real branded car is far more complex, and there's far more stakeholders and sponsors involved, and you've really got to accommodate everyone essentially. So what I've done there is on the side, Delta in its sort of standard coloration is just a little bit too wishy-washy, and the red obviously gets lost with the red up the side of the car, so we're just giving it a bit of just a white all over, something that probably would still fit within the brand guidelines of Delta to allow the logo to play place on additional colours. And I think that probably works a little bit better, so we'll save that. We'll go back to the scene, have another little nosy, do a bit of a refresh. You see it's just even started to pop out a bit more. So looks like the FedEx is just creeping into the air, and that's her Delta's actually got covered up by the camera. So let's go back into Photoshop. FedEx needs to come back down a touch. Boop, boop. So we can come down a touch. Bring Delta down to where this was. Take hard rock up further to this nose. We'll spin it around because that's everything about the camera will be that way anyway. We'll save it, go back to the scene, see if that improves anything a touch or not. Find out. It's Delta, hard rock, and they're all emplacements up on the car which are essentially devoid of some other kind of artifact, be it an aerial, be it a camera, be it another aerial, be it a wind sensor. There's this, that, there's all different things on the cars, as you know. Right, okay, so we've got a bit of something going on now, but I think we need to bring in a bit more, something a bit more design-led. So maybe we need like another stripe to the car. I think it would be probably a yellow stripe. Let's change the camera angle to the side. Free it up a bit so we can drop it down. Needs something, doesn't it? So pretty a yellow stripe from front to back. Okay, so right, let's change the scene. So I just zoomed in a bit on the nose because that's why I want to start in this yellow edge. Now, I've already got this here, the nose edge layer, so I might actually be able to be a bit cheeky and just actually put a stroke to this on the outside with the yellow of the normal logo. Make it, you can see we've got a bit of a line already there, and it's not, that'll probably work. We'll have to shrink down the channel logo so it fits with it. There we go now. That's not too bad. We'll save that, go look at the car, see how it sits on the car. Double click on the texture, click on labels. Let's go back to the camera for a minute. A little yellow line looks quite nice, it's quite subtle, not overbearing. It's free, so we just pan it a little bit vertically. So we now need to take that yellow line all the way around the edge and up the rear end of the car. So we go to this layer. Oh, so go back to the original layer. Oh, I just managed to open Illustrator for no apparent reason. So we're going to kill my machine. Let's get rid of you. There we go, it's gone. Think about it now. Hopefully it's not affecting the live stream. I think it could be. Rubbish. There we go, it's gone. So we go back again. So if I go to the layer, I'll copy the blending style, apply it to the main. There we go. So we've got a few little artifacts we need to get. So we'll put it all, keep it. What is all rasterize? Do I want to? No. What do we? No. Just delete a few bits off the layer. Okay. Just hide some stuff. Just trying to get rid of a few of the areas. Get back to the scene. Let's see what that looks like. Start off with. Move that a bit higher up the scene so we can see it a bit better. Double click. Label. See, we've got it there, but we don't have quite the nice neat merge that I'd like there, so we need to do something about that. So I think what we need to do is actually bring, let's go back to the nose edge. The bit of perspective, we'll just bring it in a touch so it hides up. Fix the noise in a minute. Just brought the edge of the lower bit a bit higher down, but lower down. Refresh, I'll take it above the edge there. Yeah, it's starting to do, but not quite how I want it to do it. We could probably go a tiny bit more. Actually, just doing a perspective change on here just to bring it in a bit. What I'll do is I'll do I, B, and get rid of these bits and bring that red back to where it should be. This is a quick cheating way of doing it. S. Zoom in. We are taking it now over the top, which is fine, but we've got a bit of a kink, so we just need to go back to the main shape. This one here. T. We'll go on A. Let's bring that out a bit. Boop. Control save. See, there's a lot of tinkering, a lot of playing around, but eventually you do start. I mean, that's fine for now. I'm not too worried about it for the sake of this one. I'll need to knit up and tidy up a little bit later. So what we're going to do now is just bring that in. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow into the car on the top, try and get it to be a bit more, I don't know, stylized. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create a new layer. We've got I first. Get the yellow. We'll bring the path tool in, and we'll bring it across. I don't know, somewhere like that. Let's go back. Yes, at the moment it's over the top, but we'll drop it underneath. And we'll take that eye that we mentioned, so make it a bit of a sweeping edge. Take it back to the car. It's starting to generate a relatively simple, clean looking car, nothing particularly fancy at this moment in time. Let's go to the show logo, make it a bit bigger. I believe when it's on red, it also needs to have a key line around it. Key line, stroke, light. If you ever notice on the Ferrari, I believe it does have something like that, so pop that in. Right there, so you can see now we've got the key line around the logo. Where is it on the car? The logo, is it? We've got it. Let's go to the side, camera side. A bit skewed, so we bring it back. Bring it back a touch. Try and line the logo up with the bottom of the edge of the car. And the same with the shell V-power. That might actually need straightening and warping. I tend to use a bit of an arc rather than messing. It's trying to go the wrong way, so we'll change the angle. There we go. Control T again, drop it where you want it to be. Control save. Let's go back into the scene. It might not be right first time. Hopefully it's getting closer. A little bit neat for now. That'll do for this. For what we're doing here anyway for now. So let's go change the camera angle again. Okay, so hard rock's now, so we're now encroaching on the main. And so I'll bring that in. Oh. Oh. Ah, sorry. Press Control V and just V. S. Back to the car. Labels. I think a bit neater. We need some on the headrest, we need some on the front wing, we need some on the rear wing just to really sort of set it off. Okay, so look at the front wing end plates. Let's stick hard rock on there as well. So Control, press V. That one, then I'll press V. Right clicked on the hard rock logo. Press V, press Alt. That now essentially creates a duplicate when you drag it across. And move that across down to where I want. Now I happen to know that the outside one is on this side. And we're going to make it white. So we'll go blending options. Probably already got this option saved somewhere. Control T. Tweak it a little bit. Let's drop it in. Might work, might not. Let's go over nosy. And press refresh. Everyone had off on the car. So it's again, just by putting logos on the car, you're starting to get the feel of a bit more of a normal livery kicking in place. On the rear wing, I know it'll never happen. I'm going to stick the number there. I like the number on the rear wing, something visible. I think they're still far too hidden at this moment in time. The driver numbers, because the drivers are still hidden by the halos, obviously. There has been a few inroads. I think what Mercedes did the year was quite good with colours. Obviously onboard cameras do help, but if you're trackside, unless you know about T-cams and the different sort of colour accents, at the speed they're going, you're going to struggle to see who's in the car. So the numbers are almost pretty much pointless unless you've got a nice lengthy zoom on you in your hands with the camera. So yeah, I think there's still a bit of work to be done from a number perspective to really help them stand out on all cars. But I do still think that there's a level of personalisation that needs to be involved somewhere. Right, any options? So we're going to change that 7 to colour overlay white. Save that. Back to the scene again. We'll look at the back wing. It's a little bit in the wrong direction, so let's change it a touch. There we go. Control save. Back to the scene. That'll just level itself off now. It hardly moved, to be honest. Let's quickly save my photos. My keyshot file. Okay, so we're not far off a bit of, I mean, it's pretty basic still, obviously, but we're not far off some form of leveling. Hopefully, it'll demonstrate how you can actually just take a UV map, you can tweak, manipulate it, and drop it onto a model quite easy enough. Obviously, you've got to get the model into a situation where it looks good anyway. So, I mean, at the moment, let me see if I can just demonstrate some of the other stuff that we can do. So, obviously, when you create a model, you've got the ability to change the textures, the lighting, the backplates, the materials, paints to a degree, depending on keyshot or what you're using, and it can influence how. Because a lot of the cars you'll get it in a basic situation where literally just white, looks like it's just been 3D printed almost. It's just like a cement coloured or white coloured plastic. So you then got to texturize and tweak and update. So obviously I have my favourites selection of materials which I use, and I'll just quickly change something around so you can see what it kind of does. So say we've got a red candy. If I was to drop that onto the wheel, you can see it brings in the red candy. Or if you was to change it to the luminous yellow, luminous yellow. You want chrome, you've got chrome, and so on and so forth. So just quickly back pedal on that one. So you determine what the car's going to look like. Now I've got a lovely multi-layered sort of carbon fibre, which I think is really nice and neat. It's quite small, fine carbon, which is great. But then everything else has essentially been modelled up and had a UV map applied to it. So the tyres, the tyre walls, they've got a UV map. It's just finding the right work. A lot of the cars and a lot of the models you get off the shelf will have a UV map, will have all the textures built in with it. And it's just a case of marrying them up. If they don't automatically import, it's not too difficult to do. Okay, so right, what do we need to do now? So let's go back to Photoshop and should we apply a little, we've got a little roll hoop up here. Let's go find the nose, cockpit and then halo. Got a couple of letters, so I'll have this one. You'll see in a second when I apply the yellow. Okay. Control save. We just applied a little element up here around the back of the top of the inlet loop, the roll loop. And when we go to the scene, I think it just adds a nice tiny little bit of colour up top. Just gives it a bit of something. Is the yellow right colour? Maybe not, might be better in red. But for now, I think it looks okay. What we'll do is we'll also apply one more logo to the side here on the side of the headrest. Tell you what, we'll probably just use FedEx. Let's go back to this thing so you can see what I'm doing. Take that into here, we'll drop it in. Make it a bit smaller because it's quite a small location on the car. Let's see what FedEx now. I think that's yeah, it's not a particularly fancy car. You can really go to town and do some cool things with it, but I think overall hopefully to demonstrate how it's quite easy to manipulate and create a livery. I hope it's done the trick. So yeah, there we go. There we have it. That's quick livery. Obviously, I would replicate it on the side of the car. Would you like to see it run? Who knows? Anyway, I'd like to say thanks for taking part. I don't think there's been anyone in the old live stream, but hopefully this has been a useful video and you've learned something new. If you've got any questions off the back of it, feel free to ask them. As for one thing I will mention is templates. I think I might mention at the start of the video is the models that I have that were previously created in Photoshop, my previous templatized versions, there's something I can't really give away, that I don't own the rights to the model. So I can't sort of essentially distribute a template as far as I'm aware. In this instance, I've been given the opportunity to use these models to demonstrate liveries and utilize them. But I think it's, again, without owning the model and doing the development work and building 3D in the first place, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving out a template. I might be able to just do a different method, potentially using an old photo and debranding, which is what I did way back in time. But I think it would probably be quicker for me nowadays to crack on with my learning the 3D and just develop a whole new car and then potentially create a template for you guys. So we'll see how we get on from there. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Still feeling pretty nervous and quite daunting. Hopefully I've not waffled on. Hopefully I've explained things quite thoroughly. I've not spoke too fast. And if you get a chance, give us a like and subscribe. Cheers. Cheerio. Bye.